1.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, December 11, 2024, and welcome to the Town of Carmel Town Board. Tonight's meeting is a public hearing, and then we're having a voting meeting and a short work session. I call this meeting to order and ask everybody please rise and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody, please remain standing for a moment of silence for all the brave men and women that keep us safe. Thank you. If our town clerk, Alice Daly, would do a roll call attendance, please.
Councilman Lugo?
Here.
Councilman Kearns?
Present.
Councilwoman McDonough? Here. Councilman Lombardi?
Here.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Here. So first up, we have a public hearing to hear objections to the assessment rolls for the operation and maintenance of the improvements for the garbage, water, and sewer districts for fiscal year 2025. We have a public hearing to hear objections to the assessment rolls for the operation and maintenance of the improvements of the garbage, sewer, and water districts for fiscal year 2025. Alice, could you read the public notice for us?
Sure. Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, pursuant to Town Law Section 202A, will conduct a public hearing at Town Hall, 60 McAlpin Avenue, Mahopac, New York, on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter that evening as possible, for the following purpose: to consider the 2025 tentative assessment rolls for Carmel Sewer Districts number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and extensions thereto, as well as Carmel Water Districts number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, and 14, and extensions thereto, as well as the Town of Carmel Garbage District. Be it further noticed that the 2025 tentative assessment rolls may be inspected at Town Hall, 60 McAlpin Avenue, Mahopac, New York, during normal business hours. At said public hearing, all interested persons shall be heard on the subject thereof. The Town Board will make every effort to assure that the public hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Anyone requiring special assistance and/or reasonable accommodations should contact the Town Clerk. By order of the Town Board, the Town of Carmel, Alice Daly, Town Clerk.
Thank you. Did we do the roll call?
Yep.
All right.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Seconded by McDonough and Kearns. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the public hearing is open. David Keith, 14 Willow Road.
Good evening. The only thing I got was a cold, Susan. I thought this evening we were going to hear from the sponsors and the ones that are going to do the work or propose to do the work in our Water District 2. My questions are, what's the driving force behind this? Are we out of compliance? Is it necessary for us to do it at this time? What's driving the force? Is it because there's going to be more use of Water 2 in the future and that we have to get ready for this? In which case, I remember about 25 or 30 years ago with the community got involved because of the sewer. And we built it out as big as we could because we were told we only got one shot at it. So we did. Now, I don't know where we're at as far as fulfilling its capacity. I don't know if somebody could tell us. I'm talking to some people that have been involved in the water, and long ago, many years ago, we have surpassed the amount of water that the lake yields. And only because of the result that the DEP increased the height in the West Branch and fixed the sleuthway does it appear that Lake Lenida holds its level. I don't know of anybody in here from DEP. I would think they'd be interested in what's happening and what's about to happen. I would just like to know what has compelled us to do it now and why we're faced with this dollar amount without hearing what's being offered, why it's being offered, whether it's new and better or something that we must have.
So, I'm sorry, you said David?
David Keith.
So the information meeting is at the end of the work session, so that, there's going to be a presentation with regard to that. The public hearing now is just for the assessment roles that we had went through with the, no, that's okay, I'll explain it. So we went through the budget, and we just, this is kind of a pro forma thing that we have to do, because we have the garbage districts and all the other districts that we have to pay, you know, have the, what we budgeted into those districts.
And
So
my
that,
concern would be water too.
yeah, so we're going to have that discussion. It's on the agenda on the second page.
So we'll wait for the second page.
Yeah. Ask if anybody else has about the assessment roles.
But really, the whole crux of getting new data, which would have went on when the plant was being designed, because this is all from 2018, okay, when all this went on originally. So the data and all the things that we're asking for that you want to know now, that's going to go out. That'll be explained at the end when the engineer makes his presentation. But that information is going to go out for an RFP for a separate engineering company to come back with the information that everybody's asking for. So we won't have that information until an RFP, engineering goes out and looks at it. So the numbers that you're all looking for and striving for, those aren't going to be anytime soon, because that has to be all addressed, just so you know.
Do they want to talk about
So
the assessment role?
So
or
Kathleen McMorrow,
I'm sorry, so does that mean you're redoing the RFP? Like, you got one response from the first RFP?
well, we're going to, Steve, we're going to explain it at the end, but it's
Okay.
going to be, but
Okay.
just,
I thought you were trying to explain that now.
well, I was trying to tell you that getting up and asking who, what, when, where, you're
Okay.
going to get the answers, that's not going to be forthcoming. The answers are going to be after it gets investigated and relooked at. So is Kathleen McMorrow,
Ask them, are they here about the public? Part two.
It's part two.
Okay.
Yeah, the end.
Anybody on the assessment?
did Kathleen want to talk about the assessment roles?
No, she said part two.
No? Frank? No? Is anybody that signed up want to talk about the assessment roles? We'll cut it.
Okay, good.
Good. Oh,
The public hearing is on the assessment.
no? Okay. So if there are no further comments about the assessment roles,
The public hearing.
can I get a
This is like
motion to
legal
close the
process.
public hearing?
So
So,
moved.
second.
This is like a
Seconded by
legal process.
Kearns, and all in favor?
Aye.
The assessment role.
Give it to Alice.
But we're going to use them.
So get a motion to open up the voting meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by McDonough, all in favor? Aye. Can we get a motion to accept the board minutes from November 2024?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Kearns, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Our first resolution is adopting the assessment rules for the operation and maintenance of the improvements of the garbage sewer water districts for fiscal year 2025. Councilman Lugo, could you read that?
Sure. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel hereby adopts the assessment rolls for the operation and maintenance of the improvements serving Carmel sewer districts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and extensions thereto, as well as Carmel Water Districts number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, and 14, and extensions thereto, as well as the Town of Carmel Garbage District of said town for fiscal year 2025, as originally prepared by Town Assessor Scott McMillan and filed with the Town Clerk as the final assessment rolls for the year 2025. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilman Lugo?
Aye.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. Our second resolution is accepting a proposal for fence repair at Jimmy McDonough Park. Councilman Lombardi, could you read that?
Resolved, the Town Board of Town of Carmel hereby accepts the proposal of WBE Fence Company, Brewster, New York, for the repair of fencing at the skate park located within Jimmy McDonough Park, excuse me, at a cost not to exceed $9,420 in accordance with the proposal dated October 10, 2024. And be it further resolved that upon insurance certificates in form acceptable to Town Council, Town Supervisor Michael Cazzari is hereby authorized to execute all contract instruments and other documentation necessary to accept such bids and contracts for said services. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Second by McDonough. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilman Lugo?
Aye.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. The next resolution is authorizing the purchase of bulk diesel fuel. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, upon the recommendation of Town Highway Superintendent Michael Stern, hereby authorizes the purchase of bulk diesel fuel from Sprague Operation Resources, LLC, under contract number PC 70538, New York OGS Group number 5602, award number 23343, for the period of November 21, 24 through August 2026. I'll offer this as read.
Second.
Seconded by McDonough. Can we have a roll call on that, please?
Councilman Lugo?
Aye.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. The fourth resolution is authorizing the award of fall bids, Town of Carmel Highway Department. Councilwoman McDonough, could you read that?
Sure. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Carmel has previously authorized advertisement for fall bid materials for the Town of Carmel Highway Department, and whereas such bids were received and opened, and a bid opening memo is on file with Town Clerk Alice Daly, and now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, upon the recommendation of Town of Carmel Highway Superintendent Michael Stern, hereby awards the bid for the purchase of washed sand, winter mix, and guide rail materials as set forth in the memorandum of Michael Stern to the Town Board dated December 2nd, 2024, a copy of which is attached here too and made a part hereof. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Seconded by Kearns. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilman Lugo?
Aye.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi? Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. The next resolution is authorizing substitution of collateral in connection with the performance bond, tax map number 44.14-1-22, 102 Oneida Avenue, LLC. Councilman Kearns, could you read that first?
Whereas a performance bond in the amount of $63,000 has been previously posted by DPL Realty LLC and is being held by the Town of Carmel in accordance with the land subdivision and/or zoning regulations for tax map number 44.14-1-22, and whereas Putnam County Housing Corp., successor to DPL Realty LLC, has requested a substitution of collateral for the aforementioned surety bond in form of a surety bond in the amount of $63,000 as security for the completion of the approved site improvements. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel hereby authorizes the substitution of bond issued by Merchants Bonding Company, Group Bond Number 101246454 in the amount of $63,000 as collateral for the completion of the site improvements at 102 Oneida Avenue. And be it further resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Carmel hereby authorizes the release of the current surety bond being held for 102 Oneida Avenue LLC, designated as Great Midwest Insurance Company Bond Number GM206572. And be it further resolved that substitution of collateral shall be deemed complete upon receipt of the aforementioned Merchants Bonding Company Group bond by the office of the Carmel Town Clerk. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Seconded by McDonough. Can we have a roll call again, please?
Councilman Lugo?
Aye.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. The next is acknowledging emergency repairs, Carmel Water and Sewer Districts. Councilman Lugo, could you read that?
Sure. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, acting as commissioners of the various water and sewer districts of the Town of Carmel, hereby acknowledges the emergency performance of water and sewer district collection system, distribution system, and treatment facilities repairs as fully detailed in the memorandum of Town Engineer Richard J. Franzetti, P.E., to the Town Board dated November 25th, 2024, as attached hereto and made a part thereof. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Seconded by Kearns and Lombardi. Can we have a roll call again, please?
Councilman Lugo?
Aye.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. Number 7 is authorizing the signing of a change order number 7, townwide water tank and rehabilitation contract C-268. Councilman Lombardi, could you read that for us?
Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, acting as the commissioners of various Town of Carmel water districts, had previously awarded the contract for the above project to Arnold Construction, and whereas Town Engineer Richard J. Franzetti, P.E., has provided proposed change order number 7 to the aforesaid contract to the Town Board for consideration and review, now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Carmel, acting as commissioners of Town of Carmel water districts number 1, 8, 10, and 13, hereby authorizes Michael Cazzari to sign change order number 7 to the aforementioned contract, resulting in an overall contract price increase of $9,877.44. Said change order to be informed is attached hereto and made part hereof. And be it further resolved that said cost of change order be assessed proportionally among Carmel districts number 1, 8, 10, and 13. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilman Lugo?
Aye.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. The next resolution is accepting proposal for plotter unit, Town of Carmel Engineering Department. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, upon recommendation of Town Engineer Richard J. Franzetti, P.E., hereby accepts the proposals of Patriot Blueprinting Systems LLC, Westville, New Jersey, for the purchase of a plotter unit under New York State OGS contract PM 20860 at a cost not to exceed $17,087.31, and in accordance with the proposal attached hereto and made a part
You don't have them?
hereof. I offer this as read.
Second.
Seconded by Lombardi and Kearns. A roll call again, please.
Councilman Lugo?
Aye.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. Number 9 is a resolution accepting proposal of purchase of lighting equipment, Carmel Lighting District. Councilwoman McDonough, could you read that?
Sure. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, upon the recommendation of Town Engineer Richard J. Franzetti, P.E., and acting as the Commissioners of the Town of Carmel Lighting District, hereby accepts the proposal of Illuminating Expressions Distribution, Rochester, New York, for the purchase of lighting equipment and appurtenances at under NYS OGS contract number PM20860 at a cost not to exceed $16,725.65, and in accordance with the proposal dated October 11th, 2024, which is attached hereto and made a part hereof. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilman Lugo?
Aye.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. The next resolution is authorizing emergency repairs, Town of Carmel Town Hall facility. Councilman Kearns, could you read that?
Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, and upon the recommendation and request of Town of Carmel Highway Superintendent Michael Stern, hereby authorizes the performance of concrete repairs at the Town Hall facility at 60 McAlpin Avenue by Solid Masonry, Mahopac, New York, at a cost not to exceed $42,700, and in accordance with the price quote dated November 19, 2024, and be it further resolved that such purchase is made upon being advised that same is an emergency circumstance under New York General Municipal Law, Section 1034, affecting public buildings, public property of the life, health, safety, or property of the Town of Carmel, and be it further resolved that the Town Supervisor, Michael S. Cazzari, is hereby authorized to sign any and all documentation necessary to accept the proposal authorized herein, and be it further resolved, the Town Comptroller Mary Ann Maxwell is hereby authorized to make any and all necessary budget transfers or modifications required to fund the cost of this authorization. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
Second by McDonough. Can we have a roll call again?
Councilman Lugo?
Aye.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi? Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. Our final resolution is authorizing the purchase Town of Carmel Highway Department. Councilman Lugo, could you read that?
Sure. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel, upon the recommendation of Town of Carmel Superintendent of Highways, Michael Stern, hereby authorizes the purchase of a 2024 Dodge Ram 5500 cab and chassis from Duchess Dodge, Inc., Poughkeepsie, New York, under NYSOGS contract number 40440, award number 23166, contract number 68980, at a cost not to exceed $73,885, and in accordance with the proposal dated December 5th, 2024, which is attached hereto, incorporated herein, and made a part hereof. I offer this resolution as read.
Second.
And one last roll call, please.
Councilman Lugo?
Aye.
Councilman Kearns?
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Lombardi?
Aye.
Supervisor Cazzari?
Yes. Thank you, Alistair. And a motion to close the voting meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A
Thank
motion
you,
to
Alice.
open the work session.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you very much.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I ask the board to please review the town board minutes that have been provided by our town clerk, Alice Daly, for December 4, 2024. Hi, Mary Ann. Our first item is our town comptroller, Mary Ann Maxwell. Consider budget revisions for November 2024.
Good evening. Yes, these are the budget revisions through November of 2024. Number one, in the general fund, we're providing for the building grounds improvements from ARPA funds. This is a total of $986,600. We did approve $13,400 earlier this year. $1 million was approved by the board, allocated by the board towards town hall building grounds improvements. Number two, we're providing also for park capital improvements from ARPA funds. $300,000 was allocated towards recreation projects. So that's what the budget revision number two is. Number three and number four, we're providing for police department purchases from accreditation grant and also from the purchase of a bulletproof vest. So we're being reimbursed by that through a grant. Number five, we're transferring for the purchase of the town hall fuel dispensing system of $21,773. This transfer is coming from other funds within the building department. On the bottom of page one, in the Lake Secor Park District, we're providing for contractual expenses. We are taking $2,000 from the fund balance in that district because they are out of funds as of November. Carmel Water District number 4, we're providing a transfer for emergency repairs. We did have to take $20,000 from the fund balance in that district to cover the emergency repairs. In the lighting districts, number 17, we are providing and transferring for utility expenses. The electricity cost has gone up, so we did have to take various funds from the various fund balances in the lighting districts. In the Special Drainage Capital Fund, we're providing it for the reclass of anticipated revenue from ARPA funds that was allocated by the county. The county denied those ARPA funds, so we had to reallocate that money earlier this year, towards paving. So if you recall that. Number 20, on page 2, we're providing for the engineering cost assistance with FEMA large projects, $30,372. On page 3, in the downtown Mahopac Improvement Capital Project, in the Lake Cassie and Tea Kettle Lake Capital Fund, and also the Highway Resurfacing Capital Funds, we're providing for capital costs from capital project costs from ARPA funds. So we are allocating money towards those projects from ARPA funds. And also in the water meter replacement capital project, we're transferring $10,000 to cover additional costs for the water meters in that capital project. We should be able to close out that capital project this year with the water meter project, because that is, I would say, 99% done. So there's still some holdouts, but that project is pretty much done. So,
Thank you.
okay?
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Items 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Chief of Police Anthony Hoffman.
Come before.
Starting with community event funding 2025. Chief?
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Lieutenant?
Supervisor. Members of the board, thanks for having us here this evening. We have a couple of items for your review, a couple of long-term projects we want to button up before the end of the year, the first being our staff funding for community events for 2025. As the board is aware, during budget season, we realized the growing impact of the community events and staffing them with police officers. And going forward, the idea with the police department was to consult with surrounding jurisdictions to see how they address this issue. I talked to my colleagues over in Yorktown, and they proposed that their plan seems to work out well, which I included in that memo that I've given to the board, dated October 24. Basically boils down to any town-sanctioned events are provided by the police department, and then other events that aren't necessarily town-sanctioned can come into somewhat of a cost sharing with the groups. So the police department is, by town code, unable to assess those fees. That would be the town board's purview. So I would recommend that that plan be put into effect for 2025, and we start a plan to do some cost sharing with some of these groups to lessen the impact on our community policing budget. Any questions?
Perfect. Thanks, Chief, for
That's
doing
good.
all of the legwork.
And that's going to go across the board to everybody, right? I know we had spoken previously, and you were saying that, I know we had mentioned if there was an event that was long-lasting, that we would consider maybe waiving them. I think we agreed that if we're going to do it for one, we're going to do it for all, correct?
That I'll leave up to the decision of the board.
I mean, I don't think you can charge one and not the other. I think if you're going to start charging individuals to host community events, it should be fair across the board. Everyone should pay their fair share.
Agreed. We are getting a lot more events, though, and we need to address that because we do have a limited budget.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I'm just saying, you know, if one organization is going to pay, everyone should pay.
Yes. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Your Motorola memo.
Yes, sir. Moving on to number 2, the Motorola Flex RMS CAD project. RMS stands for Records Management System. CAD is Computer-Aided Dispatch. This project to replace our computer brain downstairs in the police department was begun during your tenure as police chief, Supervisor Cazzari, as you're aware. We were looking to replace the system that we have. It's not supported by the vendor anymore. It's been sold a number of times. We've had consistent problems with it over the, I believe, 8 years that we've had it in effect. We have been looking at other systems. We were looking at joining a conglomerate with a number of other Westchester County agencies led by Westchester County PD. Unfortunately, because of IT issues, we weren't able to proceed with that, so we continued our due diligence with Lieutenant Brown leading the charge in that regard. We came upon the Motorola Flex system, which is a very well-known system. Obviously, Motorola is a very solid, well-known company. We demoed that about 1.5 years ago. The price point that they gave us was significantly beyond our capability at the time. So we continued our due diligence. As the board is aware, one of those systems was requiring that we would have had to upgrade all the town servers, again, out of our price range. Thankfully, in consulting with my colleagues down in Westchester, again, I found out that a number of agencies were looking again at the Motorola project. They invited us in. We spoke to Motorola. Because we went with 5 other agencies, 6 total, Motorola was willing to offer us significant savings, almost half off this system. So that made it achievable for us financially. We do have technology grant money to use towards this, and collectively between Lieutenant Brown, the Motorola reps, myself, our staff, their staff, and the 5 other agencies, we've come to a plan that I detail in my memo that we can achieve this. We can replace the system that we have that's literally, I mean, it's not working right now. We've had an issue with it. Chief of Staff Kearns working on it, Lieutenant Brown's working on it. We need to replace this system. So we found the Motorola system at an acceptable price. Motorola is a top-notch plan. And now, in addition to that, we've been in touch with our new grant writer, G&G Municipal Consulting, where we found that we could apply for a local government efficiency grant with the other 5 agencies and potentially have very little impact on our budget to the tune of under $20,000 for a 5-year plan. So that makes it, almost, it would be a no-brainer to go forward with that. So I recommend that we go forward with that project. And we have to implement that. We have to give Motorola an agreement before the end of the year with the other agencies in order to secure that pricing. So that's what I recommend.
Thanks, Chief.
Great thing.
Great that you were able to work with the other departments, and maybe this is just step one of working with other departments to try to reduce a cost on some of the other projects and items that we have going forward.
Absolutely. That's what we looked. We looked to collaborate with the other agencies, and this system, fortunately, also collaborates with Putnam 911, so we have that working for us as well.
And then, Chief, what would be the time frame, like if everything goes through, when they'd be able to get it in?
I'll hand that over to Lieutenant Brown for.
They said anywhere from 8 to 12 months from the time we sign on the dotted line,
Okay.
so to speak. We're in a bit of a bind at the moment, though. Our system's been down since last night, and it's
Yeah.
still not up. So they're back to writing pen and paper until we can figure it out. Not that this wouldn't help that in the immediate, but it's something we need to replace.
Okay, thank you.
So you're saying that will work with the CAD,
That's correct.
with the
CAD.
county's CAD?
Yeah, the county's CAD, we consulted with them. The county uses Tyler for CAD. The Motorola system and the Tyler CAD, they have an element that will be able to basically converse in a much more technologically advanced system than we do have now, which is basically email from 911.
Is that a lot more money to get that, or that's part of the deal?
No, that's wrapped into the entire project.
All right, thank you.
Tasers and body cams?
Tasers and body cams, yes. Another project that's been long-term. It's been almost my entire tenure here. As you might know, Supervisor Cazzari, retired Lieutenant Dearman, handled our taser program. He advised that they were going end of life. We kind of kept it going with, as a Band-Aid as long as we could with refurbished parts. Unfortunately, even those are becoming very scarce, and we have to move on to upgrade our tasers. Also looking at body cameras, where many departments in the region are going with body cameras. The Sheriff's Office is one of them, Yorktown, our neighbors. It's just an element of our field that's almost necessary at this point. So thankfully, in February of last year, we received $30,000 in state funding specifically for body camera equipment. We would look to apply that towards this greater package, and the reason why we combine tasers and body cams is because they're both provided by the same vendor, which is Axon Enterprises. So in my memo, it spells out there's a 5-year plan. The total of the plan is $184,948.30. Taking away that $30,000, we're going to apply that for the first year. For the remaining years of the contract, we work out to about $38,000 a year for replacement of the tasers and introduction of the body cameras, and that will be absorbed into our equipment budget line, which is not really a stretch. That's kind of in the same area of what we earmark for equipment in that realm anyway. So that's not a significant expense.
Chief, are we required by state law yet, as a department, to have body cameras?
Not yet, but I can see it going in that direction.
Do we have any idea of a time frame when it would be required?
No idea when it would be required, but, I mean, they did provide funding for us. They are strongly suggesting it. I can't, constantly have requests from residents or any interactions that we have. People want to see the body camera footage. The district attorney is constantly, hey, do you guys have body camera footage, stuff like that. So it's kind of, it's at a point now where it's almost expected for.
Chief, I think it's a good thing that the police officers get body cams.
It goes to our transparency.
Sure.
Thank you.
Records retention?
Yes, okay. As the board is aware, we are seeking accreditation. We received an accreditation grant specifically for that. Sergeant Makem is here with me. She is our accreditation manager. And as our administrative sergeant, she is also in charge of our records. She oversees our records division and our FOIL unit. She was reviewing records recently, and she came to me and noticed that there was a bit of a discrepancy between the police department, specifically the retention policy, and the accreditation standards. The accreditation standards for New York State require that we address that we are keep our records retention under New York State Department of Education Local Government Schedule 1, and at least in our policies note that, and that would cover all of our, our reports, or if we have any personnel complaints, anything like that. It's all spelled out by the state, and this is essentially just getting everything in line with that. Our current retention policy doesn't refer to every aspect of paperwork or the records that we maintain, and this would alleviate that, and it would allow us to check that box for accreditation standards.
Great, thank you.
Okay?
And Boston Whaler.
What's that?
And Boston Whaler.
Yes. As the board is aware, we have a new police boat. Thank you to the board for that, for getting us that last year. We do have our old boat, which is now 20 years old. It's a 21-foot Boston Whaler. We were in talks with 2 of our local fire departments to lease them that boat as a rescue dive boat. Unfortunately, logistically, that fell through. So in consultation with the command staff, we made the decision to pursue putting it up for auction and getting that money back and having it apply to our budget. So I would ask the board that, Lieutenant Bodo, he oversees our Marine unit with Sergeant Kreco. He has made arrangements for the boat to be appraised, and with the board's permission, by resolution, if we're able to declare that obsolete, we'll put it up for auction with the help of Superintendent Stern and the Highway Department. They help us out with the auctions, and we'll be able to bring some money back for our budget.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
That's it.
Thank you, Chief.
All right. Just one last thing. If I can mention, I think Superintendent Stern might mention if he's up too. The overnight parking, the restrictions are in effect. If we have any bad weather, we just ask our residents to clear the roads, get your cars in the driveways, helps the plows out, keeps the roads safe, and there is a potential for parking summonses and towing. We'd rather not do that. We'd rather have folks pull their cars in. And also, we have our notification system, Code Red. The QR code is right over there. As of today, we only have 178 residents signed up. So if anyone wants to go to our Facebook page and follow the directions there, the town Facebook page, Chief of Staff Kernan and Lieutenant Brown and I have been working on that. And if anyone has any computer issues or they're not as computer savvy, they can give us a call and we'll walk them through it. So we'd just like to get people signed up for that so we can get notifications out to them. So
Thank you.
that's it. Thank you.
Chief.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
So the last work session item is our engineer, Richard J. Franzetti, contract 301, Town Hall painting.
Good
Rich?
evening, Board. How are you?
Good.
So on December 3rd of this month, December 3rd of '24, at 11 a.m., bids were opened by the town clerk for the Town Hall painting. It involves furnishing all tools, equipment, and materials and labor for the painting of interior surfaces at Town Hall. 8 set of bid documents were picked up by bidders, and a contracted bidding services provided in response to the advertised invitation to bid. 3 contractors attended the mandatory meeting. 1 bid package was received by Spitali Construction Resources in Yorktown House for the amount of $79,500. All the required forms and information was submitted by the bidder, and based on the evaluation of the bid amounts, experience of the bidder, and project references, we recommend that the contract be awarded to Spitali Construction Resources as the lowest responsible bidder for this project. This, as the board knows, will be funded through the Corona State and Local Fiscal Recovery Act, or ARPA funds. I also would respectfully ask the board to please vote on this tonight so we can start the process of getting the contract signed so we can encumber the funds prior to the end of the year.
Somebody want to read that? Sure.
Resolved, whereas the town board of the town of Carmel had previously authorized advertisements for various improvements to be performed at Town Hall facilities specified in the interior painting at said facility, and whereas such bids were received and opened on December 3rd, 2024, and a bid opening memo is on file with the town clerk, Alice Daly. Now therefore be resolved, the Town Board of Town of Carmel, upon the recommendation of Town of Carmel Director in Parks and Recreation and Engineer Richard J. Franzetti, the Town Board hereby awards the aforesaid bid to Spitali Construction Resources, the lowest responsible bidder, meeting specifications at a cost of $79,500, and be it further resolved that upon insurance certificates and bonds in form acceptable to Town Council, Town Supervisor Michael Cazzari is hereby authorized to execute all contract instruments and documents necessary to accept such bid and contract for said services. I offer this resolution as read.
Second?
Would you do a roll call for us?
Yeah.
Aye. Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. You got that, Rich?
Thank you very much.
So a motion to close the work session,
So moved.
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
I don't know if it's.
Oh. Yes. So do we have to open, the information or just have information? Basically, it's an agenda item. Yes, all right. So our engineer is here, Richard J. Franzetti. So just some background. It was in August of 2018 when the town of Carmel hired Hazen and Sawyer to conduct a comprehensive study of Carmel Water District Number 2's water treatment plant. There was an initial public hearing in April of 19 at the Carmel High School Library. The final engineering report and facility plan were shared with the public at a town board meeting and public hearing on June 10, 2020. In March of 21, Hazen and Sawyer engineers, along with Arcadis, they were the two bidders on the RFP. Both companies assisted in the design and construction of the new water plant for Carmel Water District Number 2, and then that plan was updated and presented on October 9, 2024, up at the Carmel Volunteer Fire Department. So in looking at their estimate, it actually is, the expenses are over on $600,000 and $1 million for the legal fees and for the property. So they're overvaluing in their proposed number the legal fees and the $1 million that they're putting in for the property. So that would bring the number down to between 20.8 million and 24.8, down from the 22 and 25. When you are doing bonding, that does not mean that you're spending the entire amount. If you remember when Water District 2 was lined, it was bonded for 13 million. Less than 7 million was spent. You need to have the bonding in place so that they have to have the funds so that they can do a design so that we can go out for funding. Hazen and Sawyer, their initial demand estimates were based on the historical usage and data and growth models set by the 10 state standards. It's an engineering standard. These estimates were done before the water lines were lined. Okay, that was done and finished in November 2022. All this was in 2018. So those numbers, the demand is actually 200,000 gallons less than what is in their proposal. So there's more possible savings in that. So the updated estimates and the other conclusions brings us to reconsidering that original plan. We're going, we heard what everyone was saying when they were coming last time. We're going to put out a bid for a different engineering company to come in and do a supplemental facilities plan. Yes. So they're going to come through, give us a cost analysis on what the different options would be. There was 7, I think, that they looked at different ways that you could treat the water. So they'll give us a cost analysis, actual numbers on here's what it's going to cost, here's what the O&M going forward is going to be, here's what it's going to cost to build the facility. And basically, that's about it for now. If Rich wants to.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So as the Supervisor has indicated, we did go out. This was already designed. No design has been performed, so I just want to make that clear. What was performed and what has been done so far is a facilities plan. The facilities plan looked into various aspects, and they looked into at least 6 different methodologies to treat water. Direct rapid gravity media filters, sedimentation, gravity media filters, plate settling, DAF, which is one that was ultimately chosen, direct membrane filtration, and with coagulant clarification and direct membrane filtration. That was looked at in the facility plan. The facility plan looked at the demand, not only for what's going to happen in the future, but it also looked at the Lake Glenida and Lake Mahopac's yield analysis. So what we did was we assessed what Lake Glenida could handle flow-wise and what possibly Lake Mahopac could do. We looked at that as an option. I think what came out of this study at the back end was we weren't going to go to Lake Mahopac. However, we are going to maybe tap into the West Branch. So again, that's in that report, that's on our webpage. So what Supervisor mentioned is that we're going to develop and issue a request for proposal for engineering firms to do this supplemental facility plan. As he said, we heard you, right? What we're going to ask in this supplemental plan is we're going to establish the water demand to be 1.1 million gallons per day. Why? Our sewage treatment plant can only handle 1.1 million gallons per day. That was a question that came up. That is just design, right? I can't give 5 million gallons in that plant. Mr. Keith mentioned it before. When we built that plant out, it was built out to the max. We wanted more. New York City DEP at that time in the 90s said, no way, Jose, right? So 1.1 MGD, what we'd have is a supplemental report would do that in this request for proposal. We would evaluate all the alternatives plus the rehab of the existing plant. That was not looked at in the initial supplemental. So there'll be 7 different options looked at. What it would look at is the maintenance and operations, upgraded the SCADA systems, identify any additional LAM requirements, any pretreatment requirements, waste stream generations for each of the alternatives, right? Because there's been talk about that. The rumors are around there about that, right? Provide a capital cost estimate for each of the alternatives. Provide annual O&M, capital O&M life cycle cost analysis. That's important. What that means is, a plant is designed for X amount of years, right? We need to look at that life cycle cost. So it's not just the initial capital, which is important, right? It's also looking in the future. As somebody mentioned earlier, that electrical bills went up, right? Electricity doesn't go down. If it's cheaper to run a particular system, that's part of a life cycle cost. If there's less waste being generated, it's part of a life cycle cost because we're not discharging it to our wastewater treatment facility. We're not worried about sending it out somewhere else. We are going to ask for that information to be provided in a supplemental report. So that's basically what you all had asked for at the last meeting we were at, what the discussions have been, what people have called, well, only 2 people have called my office, but what the 2 people who called my office that I've discussed with them. At the end of that RFP, after it's been presented, there will be a public meeting so that you can ask the questions at that point in time, that the board can ask the questions at that time. And then we can move forward from there. So right now, the next step, again, hearing what you had to say, we'll put an RFP out, supplemental facility plan to address your concerns. So part of it is what was done was done. It was done correctly, as the supervisor mentioned. Things have changed, right? We saved water by having the lining project done. We save budget on that too. We didn't spend $6 million on it, so we don't always spend, we don't use it as a bank account. We only spend what we bond out and what it costs to do the project. So, I mean, that's really all I have. There wasn't much. Bringing back the Hazen and Sawyer to discuss what they've did in the past, that has been presented. It's all done. It's documented. They were here. There's no gain to having that, right, at this point in time. We're telling you what we're doing going forward to address your concerns. And that's what I got.
Rich, is there any time frame we could give the people in regards to the new RFP?
So I'll have to,
how soon?
if the board is okay with this, and everyone seems to be okay with moving forward with that, I'll develop an RFP. We'll let it out early next year, end of January maybe, I don't know. And then we'll put it out. It only goes out on RFP, goes to engineering firms. We'll put it out there. You put it out for maybe a month and a half. And then depending on the schedules they come back with, looking at this, it might be 8 months. I don't know. We could define that. I haven't gone into the details of all that yet, but it would be, we've done a whole bunch of RFPs before. We have a rubric that we put in there. We have a bunch of information in order to justify how we choose or how a professional firm is chosen. So we can make it shorter, but again, if you make it too short, you get, that time frame will not get you the quality, right? If you make it too long, then you just, maybe spending money where you shouldn't be. So we'll make it, we'll look at it, we'll work with the board and let you know what's going on. And, the RFP will be posted on our webpage so that people can see it ultimately and engineering firms can act on it.
And Rich, in the RFP, do they put like the pros and cons, because you mentioned the 7 different possible ways? They do the pros and cons in it?
It's
In the report.
Not in the report, I'm sorry, in the
Yes.
report, not in the RFP.
Yes.
in the original facility plan?
No,
No,
like
in the
in
new
the
one?
one that we're gonna
Well,
ask.
what it's going to do, it's going to lay all that out. It's going to evaluate each of the alternatives in comparison to money, in comparison to waste, in comparison to electrical uses. So, and then they'll give a pro and con to that. Now, I didn't maybe list that on my memo. That would be
Yeah.
part of what's there. Because,
Okay, thank you.
again, a decision has to be made. I don't know what's going to happen after that, right? It could be DAF again. It could be, just rehabbing the existing plant or direct rapid rate, gravity media filters.
So-
That may be what they come up with
So-
as that answer.
I don't think that the people in the crowd have an issue with the DAF plant itself. I think they're more concerned with the design and the custom plant that is being proposed. So again, if this report comes back and it states that DAF is the better solution, will there be an opportunity for us to pivot and look at cheaper alternatives on a DAF build-out?
It's going to talk about those things in the report. So the idea would be, looking at the life cycle cost, would be saying, is a DAF unit better than, again, direct rapid filtration, right?
No, I understand that. I'm saying if it's a DAF,
but
do we still need to go with that Taj Mahal design from Hazen and Sawyer?
There is no Taj Mahal. No design has been done. What was put in the facility plan was a recommendation for DAF with a range of costs. Nothing has been designed or forced down anybody's throat just yet, though that might be what the consensus is, and I apologize if that wasn't clear. But you don't have to build, the whole intent always was to put a Butler building up there, not a John Butler building. A Butler building with a facade in front of it to make it look like it fit into the neighborhood. So a Butler building is not a Taj Mahal, it's a Butler building. You could choose to have concrete, steel, not steel tanks. All those impact that life cycle cost that goes on there. That hasn't been put to paper. That hasn't been put out there. So again, everyone's saying it's the Taj Mahal, which I've heard that not just from Councilman Kearns. That hasn't been designed yet. So that price hasn't been put to paper. The range was given to say, yeah, if you put everything in there, that is top-notch, stainless steel, then that's what's going to happen. Yeah, you can build a brand-new building, but the intent was always to put a Butler building with a facade in front of it.
So So since this is surface water, will this report is going to have to do a change of seasons, correct? Are you going to have to monitor the water quality through the different seasons, or no?
That's already been done.
Okay. No, I'm saying
That
with this
work-
new facility report that you're
No, the
putting out.
facility, they're gonna build on the old facility report, that monitoring of water, all that information was collected. That hasn't really changed, right? What's changing are the future regulations, which that'll be addressed in this new supplemental report, saying, here's what's gonna go on, right? We know that Glenite is a relatively clean body of water, but all bodies of water are experiencing higher total organic carbons going forward. It's just happening just because of atmospheric deposition and whatever else is going on. New York City DEP's waters are experiencing some stresses in certain times. All that would be looked at and reassessed, but all that sampling, no need to spend the money after that, because it's already been spent. Good. Right. So,
I don't know what the rules are.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
It's not your turn yet.
I didn't know what the rules are with an information.
I'll tell you what the rules are in a minute, all right?
Stop the clock. Sorry. Go ahead.
so I wasn't planning on trying to answer questions with the public. I mean, I'll answer questions. If you call my office, be more than happy. But if the board wants me to be here to help address some issues, I'd be more than happy to do that. I just wanted to let you all know and let the public know that's our plan of attack. And I hope that addresses your concerns and moves forward with it, right? We can't go back, right? We're here. This was done 5 years ago. It was all done. We are moving forward now. That's all we can do, right? So,
Well, Rich, to the extent that there are some questions that you may be able to answer process-wise, I would definitely love you to stay.
I will be here then,
Okay.
if that's okay with you both.
I agree.
I've been asked by one, that's good enough. So. My mic is off. I'm getting my water.
Okay.
All right. So if the board has no other comments or questions, yeah? So the first person who's getting up, please tell us your name, sir.
My name is John Joseph Butler,
Thank you for coming.
and I live in Carmel Water District Number 2 for 40 years.
Yes.
And I attended and actually spoke at the
October
public-
9th.
Correct, at the Carmel Firehouse. And at that time, I asked the question, well, actually before that, I think at another meeting where the public meeting was announced, I said, hey, the public comment session is going to be at the Carmel Firehouse, and it's a $27 million project. And I had asked at that time, hey, where's the data? I mean, for this. I think, we were told, go to the website, get the data. Anyway, let's cut to the chase. So at the meeting at the firehouse, I asked the question, basically what, $24 million bond issuance was going to be voted on at that night. And I was standing there going, I don't understand. This process started in 2019, and now it's 2024, and it dropped out of the sky, out of nowhere. So now we're looking at the residents of CWD 2 basically being burdened for the next 30, perhaps 40 years with $24 million of bond debt, which in actual fact is not the debt. Once you hit interest, it goes double to that. So it's a generational thing. So I'm standing there going, hold on a second, where is this coming from? What's happening? I don't understand. Where did this project come from? What is it all about? And to his credit, Councilman Kearns kind of observed the situation, understood the situation, and voted no for the issuance of $24 million worth of bonds and debt for the district for this project. And I think we should all thank him for that. So at the end of it, it was all sort of like, hey, from an engineering point of view, we got old data. We have one RFP response from one engineering contract firm. There were 12 RFPs submitted to 12 different companies. We got one response. And everything that we're talking about here is from one response, one company. So when you go, to get your kitchen redone, and the first guy comes in the door, it's like, you got it. You don't want to listen. You don't want to get any more after that. It's the same thing here. So at the end of the day, $24 million, $27 million, you got one quote, something's wrong. Right? It's just wrong. Doesn't make any sense. And everything that flowed from that point to today, where Rich, who I respect, he's a good guy, good, supporter of our town, now it's time for a do-over. It's okay. No one did. We just got to do it over. We got to do it, in the right way, and get more numbers, more contractors, more opinions, and believe me, I'm no engineer. I mean, I go in my kitchen, the water goes on, and I get a glass of water. I say, I'm happy. Believe me, I'm happy. Until the relining project, I'm up on Kelly Ridge Road. I turn on my tap. You know what I got? Brown water. All right? So we're all on the same page here. No one's fighting with anyone. These guys are responsible for spending our money. Not their money, not the town's money, not the state's money, not the Fed's money. Anyone who turns on a tap in CWD 2, that's your money. So they're responsible for spending our money in a responsible fashion for the benefit of us. So there's no fights here. We're not fighting. We shouldn't be fighting. We're all on the same team. We're all in the same family. Make sense? Yeah. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you. I thought there was two RFPs, I thought, and isn't Arcadis and Hazen and Sawyer, aren't there two companies, the two major engineering firms that answered?
So just to clarify, Mr. Butler, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. To clarify, and I've heard this not just from what Mr. Butler said tonight, but from what other people said, we put out an RFP and we sent it out to 12 firms. 2 firms responded. That was for the facility plan. When we sent out that facility plan, it was sent to some of the top design firms in the country for the benefit of the residents of the Carmel Water District 2. We could hire a local firm. You get what you pay for sometimes, okay? So we went to top design firms. We sent it to them. They responded. 2 responded. It was Hazen and Sawyer, or Hazen, and Arcadis. That being said, for clarity, I worked for Arcadis for 22 years. It was Malcolm Perney became Arcadis afterwards. Selected for the facility plan was Hazen. So just so we know, there were no gifts or anything there, because that's also been said. When we put out the RFP based on the facility plan, which recommended DAF, only 1 firm responded. And they teamed with Arcadis and about 3 or 4 other firms, and they brought in the expertise from those other firms. So just so you understand how that process went, if you heard me read my memo tonight, we put out a bid for painting the entire town hall. 1 person responded to that. I can't, the board can't force people to respond to requests for proposals. Sometimes we get 8. When we're doing the roof, we got that. We get 8 different firms submitted, and they submitted, that's contractors, it wasn't design. We only got 1 to do painting. That's been going on for years. I don't know why that happens, it just happens. So just so we're all clear on how that goes, so. And professional services, there is a rubric that we put on. You can look at it. All of you have seen that RFP, or if you haven't, I'll get you a copy of it, not a problem. There is defined methodologies in there that we look at, so everybody's treated equally. So, just wanted to let the board know that.
Did these people want to speak?
Steve, please, get up and, nope, get up, tell us.
Well, you could always redo your specs. You could tweak the specs a little bit, and there are other co-ops and places where you can piggyback off bids too for painting. I just did one at the school district. As painters, that you can.
Well, I'm not here to talk about painting. I just use it as an example.
Okay, I thought you were talking about painting.
No,
No,
I
he's
was
just doing an
talking about, I
example.
only got
There are
one
other
bid
options.
response back. I put it out on New York State BidNet. Everything we do goes on New York State BidNet for that type of project.
Yeah, I've used that. That doesn't work
So,
very well.
so you have to say, Steve, you have to say Steve, Lori,
Oh,
Hamilton
Steve
Carmel.
Moria.
Thank you. Ma'am?
I'm Pat Sheehy. My husband Jim is with me tonight. We moved into Carmel in 1981, and I'm looking around the room. There was a hot topic going on there that I won't even get into, but I see a lot of the same faces that were there then, and I know that the people in this room are really diligent about following through. And it's a shame that we weren't really aware of what was going on, and like Mr. Butler said, all of a sudden this thing landed on us again. And I do want to thank Councilman Kearns, because actually if he hadn't voted against it that night, and if it hadn't hit the newspapers, I think a lot of us still wouldn't have been aware of it. I also want to thank the supervisor, Mr. Cazzari, because I did call him, and he listened very carefully to what I had to say. And after that conversation and getting ready to come here tonight, I thought what we really need to do, in my opinion, is a two-prong approach. And from what I'm hearing tonight, the first prong is happening. So we're seeking alternatives. There's going to be new RFPs going out, and hopefully we'll get maybe some better alternative. But the other prong is something that's bothered me for a long time, and that is the funding. You know, our sewer and water district is really a jewel in the hamlet, because it allows a lot of activity to go on there that couldn't happen if there wasn't a water and sewer district. We have an awful lot of business there that generates taxes for the county. And none of that tax dollar goes back into the infrastructure needed to operate all the county buildings that are located there.
Yeah.
And they don't pay any of the sewer and water district. So for a long time, I felt that they should chip in, and I see that our legislator, is he still here? Elmer is here. And I did talk to, I guess it's okay to say this, I talked to the county executive about the possibility of maybe getting some tax dollars. And, you know, the budget's done, But it's great to hear that it might take 8 months before we start getting the results in, because I think that we really now have to really make a solid effort to go after the county to ask for some of those tax dollars back.
I think all of us on this board agree with you, Pat.
Pat, we agree with you
Yeah,
1,000%.
Yep.
We've been talking about this, not on the specific sewer project, but on other projects, on other expenses that the town of Carmel has, that we should be getting additional from the county, including infrastructure, our roads, our police department, correct? Our fire departments that we pay for. A lot of it, you know, we should be getting a better share. And with this particular project,
I think this
I
is
think
a
you're
good
right.
place to start.
I think you're
you know,
right.
with the ARPA funds and all that.
but when we
there was
talk
hope.
about it, when we talked about it in the past, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Pat, and Pat and I know each other for many, many years. Whenever I've brought it up, I was shot down and shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. I do know what I'm talking about.
I'll
I've
tell
talked about
you.
it for many years.
I hear that all the time,
Yeah.
too. And, you know, this is something I talked to Frank Del Campo when he was supervisor about. I talked to him when he was assistant county executive. But I think that the time is ripe now. We've got a room full of people who have an interest in that. And I really think we all have to kind of band together and really advocate to get this done. It's not in the best interest of any individual legislature per se to say, oh, great idea, I think, because then there's competing things going on. But we have to really look at the fact that we do have the hospital, the sheriff's department, all the county buildings, several cafeterias and that in those buildings that generate a lot of water. So I just hope that we can really find a way to get that done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat, I mentioned this at the last meeting, and I didn't give you credit. I said to the legislator that is here that we should be getting that because what you had said to me on the phone, we wouldn't have these businesses without sewer and water. Like that's the property values of the houses and the businesses there. They're worth more than a house that doesn't have sewer and water. So, you know, this is infrastructure and it's a positive thing for the residents, but also the county is reaping that sales tax.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more thing. Actually, you know, when I hear that this could cost us $1,000 perhaps for 30 years on one small district tax on our bill, actually, if that continues and all the other taxes going up, and we're in the Carmel School District, which someday those taxes are going to go up, something's going to happen there. I don't know that we're going to be able to afford to stay here, so it's just.
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to mention Legislator Dan Birmingham is here as well to hear you all.
Yeah. My name is Dwight Keith. I have property at 70 and 78 Fair Street. So for me, this increase, if it's about $1,000, that means $2,000 per year increase for me. My question is on the property that is being acquired for this pump station. The amount has been like $360,000. How much property is being acquired?
Well, I don't think it's an acre.
Acreage-wise?
Oh, it's almost 2 acres. It's almost 2 acres.
Almost 2
So,
acres.
so if you look at.
So I just had 2.36 acres taken by eminent domain by Putnam County, and I received nothing close to that. And my property abuts the Dill Sanctuary. So I don't know why that property is worth more than what my pristine property was.
We can go
Yeah,
through with council, I don't know if, he can go through, not for your sake, but for everyone's sake, the process that we went through to acquire that property. If you'd like, we can do that. This way everybody
I
knows.
would like to see that because
Yeah.
I had
Well, we
to
could put-
acquire
I don't-
a lawyer just to get what I got, and I got nothing close.
Yeah, I don't know
We
what
can-
happened with, that's a county
Okay.
issue, obviously,
But
but.
we can
So
put
I think
the,
that's just a lot of money.
we can put the
for that
appraisal
amount of
up, we can
property.
put the appraisal up on the website so that you can see it. But,
Okay.
you know, by law, the town can't take property or purchase property without having an appraisal. So we had an appraisal done. And there were people that wanted us to pay a couple of $1 million for that piece of property because based on what they said it valued to us. But that's not the way it works. It's what the property is valued, not what your future use is going to be.
And the property that was taken from me diminished the remaining acreage that I had. So I'm just amazed that they paid that much money for that kind of
If
property.
you leave me your email, I can email you what our appraisal was. Anybody? Nope.
I think they just, yeah, it is.
Gebhardt. So I've heard tonight that we're making a step in the right direction. I think everybody that's here is representing Carmel Water District Number 2. And for sure, we are going to be very vigilant that we make sure that we get some bids, not from the Cadillac industry, but maybe from the Ford industry. Okay, I know that you folks are the water commissioners. We've had this discussion recently that not every municipality relies on the town board to be their water commissioners. They have their own commissioners, which is state law. So if we get a good result here and we get some honest bidding and some good prices that we can afford, well, then I think you've done your job well. However, folks, there's an opportunity for us to have our own water commissioners. And we would determine how money is being spent, not the town board. Just something for you to think about, okay? And lastly, what I would like to say is we don't need 2.8 acres for a Butler building. We need a ½ acre or less. So I don't know why we're buying property where we're going to put this thing down in the valley, out of sight. I don't know why we're buying that much property. We could just condemn a very small portion of it that's next to our existing water plant, and we would save a lot of money. Thank you.
Rich, is that something you could help them out with in regards to the amount of land that we actually need to build
That's
a new
what
plant?
the answer is, that's what the property is. I don't know how much we're gonna need for the ultimate design because it hasn't been completed yet. So, yeah, it is just a Butler building, but there are other appurtenances that are associated with that, that you need some property, and you need to run piping, you need to have a whole bunch of other stuff there. So, but yeah, I mean, it's the property that we were able to acquire. That's why. It's adjacent to our plant, right? And it made it easier for that future moving, where we could still use some of the old plant and have it there. No other property was there. And I don't believe we're going in the valley, Mr. Gephardt. We're gonna stay up on top of the hill there. So we're not using the full 2 acres. Because down low, once you get down low, you're in a wetland area, and you wouldn't be able to use that property anyway. There's no gain to it, right? By the time you build anything down a hill, you're spending millions and millions of dollars for just to build a wall to hold everything up. You're gonna use the flat part that's on top, so.
Now, Mr. Gephardt, I respect you and your wife greatly, but there was no dishonesty. I may not have been on the board, but there was no dishonesty with this whole process, and I really take offense to. I never said it was dishonest. You said the numbers weren't dishonest, sir.
I don't think you're hearing me.
You said some honest numbers?
Yeah, we want honest numbers.
We had honest numbers, sir.
We only had one response.
We had 2 responses, and
So
yes.
I'm going to argue with you tonight, okay?
Yeah.
So maybe it was a poor choice of words, but we need more bids than one.
And I agree that we'll get the numbers, and we'll be able to do a good job of determining what's in the best interest of the water district. Yes, I agree with you.
And I will repeat, we can bring the horse to water, you can't make him drink. One firm came in and gave it, we sent it out to 12 at that time. We'll send it out to more this time, and we'll see what comes back.
Greg?
Good evening, Greg Elner, resident Carmel Water District 2, and as Pat Sheehy said, I'm one of the 2 legislators who cover Water District 2. Dan Birmingham also does most of the area along Stoneleigh Avenue. I just have a couple of general questions which hopefully the board can answer. I see here the request for proposal was for professional engineering services for the design, construction, and administration of a new water plant. That was issued November 16, 2020. It was due January 15th, 2021, and an award was made on April 31st of 2021 for originally $2.9 million. There was a contract that was signed. So my question is, will that contract be canceled?
What contract is that?
You're talking about the design and construction contract?
Well, this RFP here, and this resulted in Hazen and Sawyer getting a contract for original amount $2.9 million. Then it was reduced to 2.6 something, but there was a contract dated April 31st. That was provided to me by the county clerk's, the town clerk's office by FOIL. So I just want to know, are we going to be terminating that contract?
Now, currently, we're getting numbers on the 7 different options for a water plant.
I understand and appreciate that, Supervisor, but there's a contract with an engineering firm right now, and I'd just like to know how that's going to be handled.
I think we're gonna wait and see what the report facilitates for us to make a judgment. I think that is really gonna drive all of us, our decision up here. We're gonna wait and see what comes back from Mitch's RFP, and then that will decide what we do in the future.
Okay, so we do have a plan.
There's no definite, I don't think, I'm not speaking for everyone, but I think there's no definite answer at this moment right now what we're going to do.
Right, and because, but my next question is, we had that contract in 2021. Have they done any work? Have they submitted any bills?
Yeah, they've done $200,000 we've spent in,
Right, so they answer the question, Legislator Elner, they have done minimal work on the design, the $200,000 that Supervisor Cazzari is talking about mostly was dealing with the facility plan. I think they've done about $15,000 or $20,000 worth of work, if not a little more, on the design, but it had to do with the property assessment and the work that was associated with that. So it was some preliminary work on the property assessment as part of the design. No other design work has been performed. I stated that earlier. I'll repeat it again.
No, I just want to clarify, make sure that, where we're spending money, that it's being efficient, as efficient as possible. The other question which I have here is the original estimates from that engineer was the plant was going to cost between 16 and 19 million. Then, due to delays and inflation, they revised that, and the exact statement was made that it would go up by 40%. I just started looking at engineering costs because an award was made for $2.9 million. Well, that's based on the original $16 million cost, so that was a design cost of 18%. Doesn't that seem a little high for design fees?
Sure did.
Oh, but I'm saying, I know that at the county, when we're hiring engineers, we're really not looking at 18%. Where I was going with this is I appreciate everything everybody's doing here. And when the RFP comes in, I hope that there will be requests of details for each technology and the numbers, because when I reviewed this, because what I didn't say is I've been a water professional for 40 years, is that I noticed that they had only put $1.6 million for equipment, which tells me that their concept, their design is massive amounts of concrete and rebar, so the actual equipment cost was actually being shifted over to the construction costs. And being in the industry, I went out to a couple of firms, and from what we were saying now, the flow has been reduced. Rich, you said it's 1.1 MGD. Is that the peak flow or is that the average flow?
That's the flow we're gonna use as moving forward, because that's the most we can, I don't know the answer to that question. I haven't developed the RFP. We're
Right.
getting into weeds right now, that if you
No,
wanna
well-
call me, we can certainly meet and talk about technical stuff at any point in time.
Right, because we just need to know, are we sizing for peak flow or average flow?
Yeah.
That's all.
I don't remember, whatever they had in the original facility plan is how we would do that. But right now, we can't have any more than 1.1, because our sewage treatment plant can't do more than 1.1.
Right, but
But you also have concerns that there are gonna be 50 or 60 homes considered down at the golf club, another 50 homes along Seminary Avenue. You have a distillery that's out there that the county, has been pushing for and we all want. So there's all future flows, right? There's another 300
and we
units
have a
considered.
request from 2 condo developments in Kent where they would like to join the water district. So you have to do the economics if it makes sense.
we don't have enough
because-
water for that.
Both.
Yeah.
So again, when people talk about stale data, or the old data, the water quality stuff is good, right? But on the grand scheme of things, what's changed is what's going on in the town, right? So Lake Lenida has a safe yield analysis, it's able to handle it. It was able to handle a higher number than that 1.1, I think. So again, the details you're asking, I don't have the answer to right now.
Okay, and the final two things is, when I walk down 301 and I go over there, I see that there's a direct connection, the sluiceway, between Lake Oneida and West Branch. So depending upon the level, you can flow in. And we're paying New York City for all the water. So don't we have the ability to get more water than what Lake Oneida has?
When the West Branch is higher, I have on my machine that the DEP has provided, on my computer, it tells me the levels of each. They're virtually the same right now, but when West Branch is higher, I call the DEP, they remove the gates and water flows in.
Right, but if
otherwise we keep it closed to keep the water in Lake Oneida.
Right, but if we needed more water, if it gets to the point, can't we just pump it?
That was in the original facility plan, if I'm not mistaken. It was addressed in there, and that answer is yes. And part of it would be to pump water from West Branch, which is why you might have a little more of the algae in the water, because Oneida is a little different, is a little more pristine than the West Branch is. So, and that addresses, some of the concerns that people brought up about that.
And the last thing is, I just want to say, I did a little research because someone had given Supervisor Cazzari some information regarding PFAS, okay? A microfilter, which is a certain size of membrane, will pass PFAS. It'll have no effect. The membranes that will reject and concentrate PFAS and PFOA is reverse osmosis. So if you're dealing with an ultrafilter, a nanofilter, or a microfilter that's a membrane, it has no difference in its operation regarding the PFAS as any other type of filter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Pat, where's Pat Sheehy? She left? She brought up an interesting. Hi, Pat. The county, the state court, the jail, I guess the churches in the area, are they paying for the water, or just are we servicing them with our water?
I'm not sure the churches.
Everyone's metered, so they pay for that. I don't know about the O&M, I don't know about the capital. Most likely they are.
Okay.
I don't know, so again, I'm assuming that. They are all metered, so everybody should have a new meter in there. If you haven't put a new meter in, shame on you, we're gonna be billing you, but.
Then the question comes up, we have several rentals and commercial properties along Route 52 on the water too. And since there's residential on top, commercial on the bottom, separate housing, we're up to, I don't know how many numbers. Are they each a standalone unit? How is this being?
Do we do ad valorem? It's ad valorem, right? It's an ad valorem, so it's an ad valorem fee. It's not based on, it's based on the taxable rate of that parcel. And then use, which is then metered, is, that's different, right? So you pay for your water as you use it.
Because I just remember when we sold the properties after ShopRite, is because the sewer tax was $57,000 with no hookup. So that didn't make it worth keeping the property, and now there's low house up on top of the hill. So it's curious who's paying and who's not.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Keith.
Mary Ann.
Nobody's exempt, right? Mary Ann is here.
Yeah, Mary Ann can explain it to you.
Yeah, all municipal buildings, county and town, are not exempt from special district taxes. So, that the county buildings and the town of Carmel we do pay water and sewer taxes. So they're not exempt from that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Am I up? I'm Herman Stillman from Carmel Water District 2. And my area is the funding, the financing of the project. Obviously, the project's going to be done. It's just a matter of the process. That's not my area of expertise, the construction, the water. My background is finance. I was a manager for corporate finance for Mobile Oil World. Their world headquarters at 42 in Lex. So Greg had a question about I think the resolution on, to pay 2.6 million. So there was a resolution passed for a bond to pay at that particular time. So my question, I guess, to the board, or basically having, for the last 3 weeks, one of my neighbors brought me that this was happening. I wasn't aware that this, going back 5 years, and I've lived in Carmel for 23 years. But my question was, okay, you passed a resolution for, could be a revolution. That was a good Freudian slip there. But a bond anticipation note, was that passed for that 2.6 to tie into this
Marion,
ultimate
the
20?
comptroller.
Okay.
Yep.
So we do have a bond authorized.
Right.
But it has not, only 300,000 has been issued.
So it's only,
In the bond anticipation note, only 300,000 has been issued to
Okay.
cover costs.
so that's 300,000 has been redeemed.
It hasn't been redeemed. It's been rolled over, the
So
bond
it's going to be
anticipation
rolled over
note.
into the ultimate, what was it?
And we're paying that down as we go, like each year. Like the original 300,000 was issued, and we're paying that down each year. But I haven't issued more on that until we move forward with, more costs on the project.
Okay, and so my next question ties into that. I've read the whole, the 2023 financials for the town. And every bond is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, an obligation bond?
Correct.
So is there a distinction? Because there are distinctions in obligation bonds. Limited, unlimited?
I'm not sure I follow you with that.
Okay, and a limited bond,
Yeah,
if the revenue, if you can't pay the interest and the principal for an
Okay.
annual payment, that gives the town the right to raise property taxes within a certain limit without our consent. An unlimited
Okay.
bond, an unlimited, a GO bond,
right.
can raise up to 100%, but we'd have to have a referendum.
Okay,
You're not
yeah,
familiar with that?
no,
Okay.
correct,
Well,
yeah.
You can look that one up. Now, on page 40 of your financials, and I see as I've gone through the charter that the town supervisor is also the chief fiscal officer. So you have the authorization to do that bond anticipation note. But I read in there that right now, and I guess you can answer this, that outstanding debt, we have bonds from the New York State Environmental Facilities Court outstanding?
We do. We have two bonds,
Okay.
correct.
So in this proposal,
Not Water District 2,
not what
Just-
it did, but the town of Carmel?
correct,
Okay.
correct, yes.
So my question is, when this, the $27 million, which I guess that was the meeting that was October 9th, had the supermajority been reached, would that have been a done deal? Would that bond would be done? There's nothing we can do.
It would have been authorized.
It would have been authorized, but.
But we
would
wouldn't
there-
have issued it.
but
It doesn't mean
Did we have any recourse at that particular point?
Yeah, I mean, you don't, even though it's authorized, I only issue debt as we go, basically.
No, exactly.
So just as an example, the 13 million that was authorized.
Right.
For the facility distribution of the lining, I guess it
Right, I
was.
read that bond.
Correct, yeah, so that was 13 million that was authorized, but we only issued, I think it was maybe 6.8 or 6.9.
No, exactly.
Right,
Of
right.
the 13 million was allocated.
Correct,
Right.
correct,
But my
right.
point is, with the $27 million, had you gotten that supermajority,
Mm-hmm.
would we have any recourse to turn that around or appeal?
Yes, yes, absolutely, you could.
And how,
yes.
what's that
Like,
process?
just as another example, we authorized $1 million to do the town hall roof, okay? Just in case the bids came in higher than what they did. The bids came in lower, so now we're able to use ARPA money. So that $1 million that we authorized to do the roof of town hall, we're not going to need that money. So basically, we're going to withdraw that bond, or that bond authorization. So if we were to authorize this 27 million, if that did, go through, it's not something we're locked into. You can pull it back. You're not,
once you make that bond.
Once you issue it, then you're locked in.
Right, once you issue it, and then the investors.
Correct.
Be it who it may.
Correct.
Once they hold those notes.
Right.
You
Right.
can't pull them back,
Then you
am I
can't.
correct?
No. But
Okay.
just because it's authorized does not mean that you're locked in.
So are we going to, I guess the question is, how are we aware as you're moving along? Because it's a redemption process, am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
So how are we aware, if in fact if that 27 million had been approved
Mm-hmm.
by the supermajority, how would we know where you're at in terms of spending?
What's authorized? Well, it's discussed annually in the budget.
And there's a
Okay, and you would
resolution.
say-
Yeah, it's
There's a
discussed,
resolution
yeah.
on everything that goes on. There's a resolution
So
to
every
spend the
it's
money. So if
discussed
So
during
every
the-
time, which is a redemption, not
Yeah.
spending, every time you redeem that, there's a resolution out of that 27 million?
well, we'd be banding a
It's,
piece of it.
it's when our bonds are approved. We do the bonding in
Right.
August or September of each year.
Okay.
So, I start preparing it in August, and then it goes to, it goes out to bid, and then the bonds come in and they're presented to the board.
Okay. So my question to the
like,
board,
so you'll see the new money, okay? Each year, it's broken down between new money, the money we're paying off on the debt.
Right.
And then, you have your beginning ban, what you're paying down, your new debt, and then but that's all presented to the board.
exactly. Okay, so I guess this one is to the board. Now, you approved the 2.6 million, but for one no, that 27 million would have been approved to potentially issue the 27
It
million.
would have been authorized.
Did you guys consider any alternative financing? And specifically, the EFC?
Yeah, so we spoke, Marianne actually spoke to bond counsel
Yes.
just to verify the state's interest rate, because
Right.
we're double A.
We're double
It's a
A1,
double A,
yes.
you have a
yes.
double A1 bond.
So
ready
we
by
get a
Fitch.
better rate than going through the state.
Yes, I just reached
So
out
it's-
to bond counsel
Right.
this week, and they
But
said it's more
I guess my
cost-effective.
question is, what was their rate?
It's more cost, I don't know exactly.
Because I mean, to me, speaking on behalf
It's-
of
but it's
everybody
not-
here from a
it's-
transparency
Right.
standpoint, what's their rate?
But the rate isn't until we actually spend
Till
the
you
money.
apply?
Right.
Or even till you apply to, and if I'm, you would have to do an application to the New York State Environmental Facilities Corp. to come up with a rate, am I correct?
Right, but their rates are higher than what we could get
But
because
what's the
we're,
rate? This is my point.
but what does it matter
How
what the
could you-
rate
how
is
could
if
you
it's,
make a sound, reasonable decision if you don't know what their rate is?
But-
And
so
what's the
your-
bond
your-
rate?
Because we
your
have
point-
better
Your point
credit.
is well taken. So here's
No,
what's
no,
go-
but I'm asking a question which I
And
think
again,
is valid.
I can't tell you the rates, that's not my gig.
No, I know, but you have the comptroller sitting next to you. They made a decision without knowing. It would be like me when, in my job, if I'd gone to my board of directors on a deal, and I didn't know the number over here, they'd look at me like I'm crazy. So you're asking us to make a commitment over a 30-year period, and you can't tell me the rate. So what was your means of comparison, other than you saying they're higher? You told me here, of the two people who called you, I was one of them, am I correct?
Actually, there were
I'm
probably
Herman,
about 4
wait,
people,
we-
but you are one of the people
I'm
who
one of
called
them.
me.
We had a
We
28
get park calls all the time, so I
Wait,
forgot to
we had
count
a
them in.
28-minute, 23-second conversation. Am I correct?
I don't know, I
It
don't
wa-
keep,
well, I
I don't
timed
keep
it.
tabs on it.
I timed it. So, but we talked about these things, am
Some
I
say it was
correct?
28 minutes too long now.
Well,
I was just joking.
okay. So that's my point is,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm here, I'm part of the district. But my area, I said, at some point, this is going to be financed. Whether it's an upgrade, whether it's a new facility, whichever way we go. But to make a sound, reasonable decision, you need what are the numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I will reach out to them again, but there's other EFC-related costs that drive up the cost to borrow with the EFC money. And I'm getting this information from our financial advisors that I reached out to on Monday. And
this
they
the
said
law
it's
firm
just.
Oric?
No, well, Oric is a bonding.
Oric is the
Capital
bond- he's your
markets.
bond guy.
It's
Go-
capital markets.
Right.
Capital
okay.
markets,
All
okay?
right.
That's our financial advisor. Okay, I reached out to them, and I can get an exact cost to show, AA1 borrowing versus EFC. Okay, I did, like I said, I did reach out to them just to, get an estimate of what would be the better route to go. And they said, because the town of Carmel has a good bond rating, it's more cost-effective to go with the AA1 bond rating.
Okay,
So I can dive into it more.
Well, I
and-
guess
and
my
if you-
next question to you would be, since the 2.6 million was approved and you redeemed $300,000, at what percentage?
The bond interest rate was less than 1%.
Okay.
The ban. Okay,
ban.
it's not a bond, it's a ban.
Okay, right, that's a
Yes,
ban.
correct.
Exactly.
Right,
So, yeah, the app did, a ban for everybody is a bond
Anticipation
application
note.
note,
Correct, yeah.
which is a short term.
Right.
It's really like a bridge loan against the ultimate.
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so,
So is that it? Because your time is,
oh, I
I
didn't
can-
realize,
I
I
can
didn't
get-
realize I was on the clock.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I can get
Sorry.
your number, and we can talk.
Yeah,
we
but I
can-
think these are valid questions.
Oh,
No,
absolutely.
I think they're great
Well-
questions.
They're
yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and one last question, if I may, since I didn't know I was on the clock. What's your allocation method for what the ultimate cost is, how is it going to be allocated, home by home? When I spoke to you and I asked you this question distinctly, are commercial businesses going to be allocated on the same basis? And you told me yes.
Based on ad valorem?
Ad valorem, yeah.
Ad valorem is what I told you.
Yes.
So it's allocated on an ad valorem, what they're taxed at.
Okay, because doing research, Westchester County, it's the size of the piping coming into the house, if I'm correct. So anyway, my
But-
time's up.
thank you very much, though.
Hi, Jen Doherty, Water District 2. I'm not going to make you sweat as much as Herman just did. Okay, thank you, Herman, that was very informative. My question is for Rich about the RFP, and if it's going to be designed more broadly, or if it's going to be similar in nature to the first RFP. So will the new RFP, and thank you for listening to everybody, and that's exactly what we wanted, we just wanted some more information. Will the new RFP that goes out, Rich, be more broad in scope? And also, will it go to also only large companies, or can it go to companies that might have more experience in building and designing plants that are more the size of Water District 2? So I hope, and do we get to see the new RFP before it goes out? Or is that something
When it
we
goes
don't?
out, it'll be on our webpage, it'll be open up for anybody who wants to go.
Before it
for
goes out? Like, do we get, or just you design
I'll
it and
speak
it
to
goes
other
out?
engineers about it. If the board wants me to show it to the entire public and get their input, we will never get that RFP out.
Well, because the
So-
first RFP was just very specific. So we got
for-
two
First
responses
RFP was
back.
for a facilities plan. It was based on 10 state standards. So it was specific to a reason, as this one will be specific to a 10 state standards.
Can we open it up, though, to more than just 12 of the most glorious,
Again, it'll be put on our
largest?
webpage, and anybody and their brother, aunt, uncle, and cousin will be
Okay.
able to look at it and place a proposal in.
But if the specifications are such that they can't apply, I mean, maybe, am I wrong?
Again, then they are not able to, so that's exactly, you answered your own question. If they can't apply, then they're not able
Well,
to put
because
in
your
for it.
first RFP specified DAF.
No, that was the second RFP, and it was based on the fact that the facility plan recommended DAF. If it had recommended a different type of methodology, we would have put in that particular the second RFP. You have to have experience with that, because we had somebody do a study for us that told us this is the process that is recommended based on what we looked at, all the information that they had at that time.
So-
They came, they said DAF, that's why we put that in there. It wasn't trying to focus it and pigeonhole it or be myopic about it, though that's what everybody seems to think. That's incorrect.
Okay, so
The-
will the new RFP,
The new RFP is going to ask to look at every one of the methodologies that were recommended, and there are 7.
okay,
Rehabilitation of the existing plant, direct rapid rate gravity media filters, sedimentation and rapid rate gravity media filters, plate settling and rapid rate gravity media filters, DAF and rapid rate gravity media filters, direct membrane filtration with coagulant clarification, and direct membrane filtration.
thank you. So
But
what are
those were
the
all,
other?
those were all looked at, except for the rehab of the existing plant, were all assessed in the original facility plan that was developed. All we're asking for with this is to take those methodologies that were assessed, looked at, including now the rehab of the existing plant, and do a whole bunch of, answer the questions that the public was asking earlier on when they were here.
So small companies and large companies?
It'll
can
be put on our
put in an
webpage,
RFP.
you know, again,
So, she just, Councilwoman McDonough just brought up a point, whoever's qualified. How many engineering firms are qualified to design DAF plants?
But that's not what we're.
I don't,
that's not what
that's
the
not the
RFP
question.
But
I
that
know, but
question
I'm
is-
curious, I want to know, is it a
no-
limited scope?
I have no idea how many are able to do it.
Is it a small percentage, or is it?
No, it's a fairly common methodology to treat water, right? So most plants can do it. If they haven't done it, it either means they don't know how to do it, or they just don't choose to do it, right? But most firms are able to do that.
Did we ever get an answer from Hazen on how many plants they had designed or built that were the size of what we're proposing?
I believe that was in the original RFP.
Well, no, and
proposal.
I think we also sent out the supervisor sent out an email asking for, they presented 10 projects that they advertised to us that they boasted about with completion. Supervisor Cazzari sent out an email to them asking them what the original estimate was and what their completion, the price for completion, and we did not receive anything back from them. Because that is what I'm concerned about, because I think many of us in this room have taken a deep dive into this whole thing, and from my research, every single one of their plants have come in 40 or 50% higher than what they've estimated. So I want to see what their numbers are, and they've yet to provide that to us. Is there any way that you can get that from them?
Respectfully, I've spoken to them about that, and the driver of sometimes on how those plants go up in price are driven by what is needed at the plant. For instance, when I spoke to the people in Austin, who you introduced me to, you know, they said, oh yeah, they came in, it was 50 million, it came in at 100 million. 35 of that 100 million that they came in at was requested by the Village of Austining. So again, a change order is a change order if it's instituted. If it's done by Hazen going, no, we're going to change this, or any engineering firm saying, we're going to change this because we want to, that don't cut it. But if we, as the town go, we want you to add all these bells and whistles that weren't in the original thing, that's going to drive the price up.
Well,
and
yeah,
that's what happened. That's partly what happened.
You're
in Austin.
partially incorrect with that, Rich. First, I have firsthand knowledge that is not the correct what happened. They went up 40 million additional. Then after that $40 million additional, then they implemented change orders. So that is not correct what you just said.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mike. You
Hi.
don't have to do that. I'll be done quickly. First of all, I need to thank you
Okay.
because what you did, they realized the big boo-boo and they could have been sued. I didn't owe $45,000 for water.
Obviously, that's insane.
But I'll be back Friday because they're at it again. But this time we're only 2 months playing with it, after they said do not pay. So I have a question. You're building this water thing. That's not going to help us on Union Valley and any place?
This is in the hamlet of Carmel.
This is just Carmel?
That's correct.
Okay, so let's see. But our taxes are going to go up?
No.
No.
Then
No,
why
you
is
pay-
it
you
being
pay
held-
your water bill.
You pay
to-
your water district.
To your water
They pay
district.
their water district. I pay my water district. He pays his water district. We all pay to a water district. Has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with you or where you live.
It's just,
It has to do with all of them.
No, okay. I mean, I'm fine with that because, I mean.
Yeah, you have enough problems with your water district. so don't even
Oh,
worry.
no, I know,
So-
and I got a problem because of him too. That other problem's not solved, so I'll be back.
The water
No,
problem.
It started tonight, because you know the rain?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, he let a house be built over there. They didn't do their what they
No,
were
Rich
supposed.
didn't.
Yeah, the town engineer.
No.
He allowed the paperwork to go through. I already know it.
Okay.
And so now, I wind up with water again. In the basement, we're playing with it tonight.
Sorry.
I'm telling you, I'm waiting for my house to go down the street. So, okay.
Have a great
Have a good
night.
night.
As long as my tenant. But I have to thank you.
Well, thank you for coming. Mr. Cole.
Charlie Cole, I'm in Carmel. I haven't heard anything from this board about the number of people that there's going to be serviced with this new water plant.
It's 2,300 and something parcels.
Could you take, and I haven't heard any numbers from you as to what it would probably cost. I mean, people from the audience have spoke and given an amount, but take the worst-case scenario and let these people know what kind of costs they're getting into. They have to know, you know, they all got mortgages, they got, you know, other expenses to take care of. They have to know what the heck they're going for, you know. And one thing that hasn't been mentioned here tonight, Rich over there said they're going to tear down one of the water tanks and put another one up. Well, that's going to cost money too. So that's going to be added on to this. So, you know, when are you going to stop?
Lindy needs to be done.
You know, you can't run a business like this. So I don't know how you guys are getting away with it. And I don't care what the state says. If we can't afford it, we don't do it. You know, if you go out to buy a new car, you want a Cadillac, and you don't have the money, you don't buy it. You buy the Chevy.
Well,
You know,
you
you
just
gotta think
saw,
about
Mr. Cole,
cost.
you just saw that the previous administration was going to make you buy only an electric car. So the government can do that to us, and they've been doing it with lead and PFAS and everything else, that they just keep jamming this down our throats, and it
Unfunded
costs
mandates.
everybody money because the state decides that you have to dig up everybody's house and see if it's a lead pipe.
You know,
And they
well,
don't send the check.
You're going to be in a hot seat too when all these people can't pay their mortgages and they got to sell their homes. They're not going to be able to sell their homes when they got this added price on it too. So it's just the worst case scenario that you're setting up here. So you've got to do a little bit better job of promoting this thing, and there's a lot of unanswered questions.
Well, we're going to get the
A lot.
numbers, and we'll answer them for you.
So you're going to have to buckle down.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anna Godowski, Water District 2, obviously, and thank you, Board, for your time and efforts. I just have a simple question, you know, where money comes from. You know, I live up at the retreat, 55 and over development, you know, income doesn't go up. Have you looked into grants? I know we have representatives here, I heard from.
We have.
What?
We have. Do
And-
you want to address that?
I'll address it, that we have done it. We've
Yeah,
done
we've-
it for a
we've-
bunch of water and sewer districts. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten much. We did get some for the tank project, but we put in for this water plant, we put in for a couple of different times, and we've been denied a couple of different times.
But
So,
There's other grants available that we've been discussing with the low-income grant.
Yeah, we have a grant writer. We went to a new grant writer that's telling us he's going to be able to help us get more money.
He's been very successful with
He's
similar
been
projects,
successful,
with
yes.
securing funds for municipalities similar to ours.
Are you telling me there's hope then?
There's hope.
There's hope.
yeah.
There's hope.
Because we have.
Nothing's guaranteed, but there's
Yeah.
hope.
And then I have one other quick question. I heard this gentleman here, Steve, I think his name, said something about getting bids. You have no problem getting bids. I picked up on that, wondering why he has no problem And you have, I'm sorry,
Is-
wondering why
Is
Steve
Steve in
has
the
no-
private industry?
No,
or
it's a
in
school
government?
district. It's a school district.
And is, so
What's
is there
that?
only,
School district.
Okay.
so is there a certain, only a limited pool you can go into for bids because it's a government facility?
I will tell you, some of the reasons why people will not bid on painting and/or carpeting is because it's prevailing wage. And they've actually called up and said, we'd love to do this, but we don't want to pay prevailing wage. We don't pay prevailing wage. So, as a government, we have to, everybody has to pay prevailing wage. Steve will attest to that. They all do prevailing wage for school projects, or they should be doing them.
But
So,
it confuses me why he has no problem and you do.
well, I have no idea. He said he had no problem. I have no idea if he's only ever had one or 100. So I have no idea. So.
That's a suggestion.
There's just other avenues that you can take, without, I'm sorry, but, sorry, Jesus, I don't know protocol. Well, there's cooperatives that you can piggyback off of. There's obviously the state, which it seems like you guys use the state bids.
Yeah,
all
we
the
use
time.
OGS stuff all the time.
All the time, so do I. But there are other cooperatives out there that put out bids, which allows you per the state law, that you can use those bids and piggyback.
Yeah.
You mentioned painting. Our facilities director just wanted to paint one of the buildings, and of course, the custodians, it's too much work for them. So I was able to find him a bid with, gives the prices per hour for laborers, for this, for that. That was awarded to this certain company. And, all the documentation's there, it's all transparent, and you're allowed to piggyback off it according to the state. So I just thought, I don't know if the county does that.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, we've piggybacked off of different contracts. Certainly, our highway department does that all the time.
Yes,
And we
piggyback off of one of the highway departments.
and we use OGS for purchasing, right? We use OGS for purchasing. Professional services, it's a little different, right? So now you're looking for RFPs. I use painting. I use.
Tons of bids out there.
Okay, so we can talk on the side. Now is not the venue to do that. But you can give me a call tomorrow, and I'll be more than willing to hear and find out some of these avenues that you have.
He's got momentum. Let him go.
Fred Carlson, I'm 51 and a half year resident of Carmel. It's just, we seem like we're getting together and when you're talking and you're going,
Kevin, help him out.
you seem like you're going. Hello.
Thank you.
It seems like we're working together. Now, I was at the meeting at the firehouse, and there's a lot more people here now, so I think some of them, I'm going to take them down memory lane just for a minute. I said there was a water problem, not a water problem, but there was a water job being done about 4 years ago, I don't know, maybe 5. And they put hoses down the road, and they put hoses into the house. And I said to the gentleman, I said, how long is this going to go on? And he says, well, a month, it may be 2 months and stuff. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, same crew comes back, takes all the hoses back out, takes the hoses away from the house. I said, wait, they never dug up the road. They never put the pipes in. How can you do this? And he says, we don't have to do it. The original pipes are okay. Everybody was happy. They didn't have to drive over the hoses anymore. They were out of the house. Good. Who paid for the boondoggle? The contractor? I think we paid for it. So just in case, see people here with a jaundiced eye and a hand on their pocketbook and their wallet, that's the story. One of the great things the town did is AAA garbage pickup, great, works great. But they're a little jaundiced, and they're not really happy with what's going on, what went on.
Was that the
So we
relining?
get
or-
together now.
So we didn't put new pipes in. We relined the existing pipes. That's what that project was. No, it completely happened. We did about 5 miles worth of pipes. Yeah, all throughout the town.
Who paid for all this?
It turns out that the records were so misleading or so inferior
Right.
that they started this whole relining on Willow that we're speaking about, only to find out that they were already lined. They were already lined. They had abandoned the project.
Right.
Yeah, the
How
records-
can the records be that inferior?
Yeah, they had a hard time finding a lot of the water lines
Granted.
because it wasn't, yeah, I don't know about Willow, but the other
Oh,
one,
yeah, I
yeah.
know you got problem with records with gas lines too
Yeah.
in town.
Yeah, the record keeping wasn't so
Right, yeah.
top-notch in the 70s and 80s. I agree with you.
I will give you an example.
That's why you see the place full tonight, because everybody's got to join the side with a project like, especially a project like this. We're talking about maybe a half acre, maybe 2 acres, maybe an acre, and now we're talking about other stuff, bonding and stuff. You can't get a straight answer, so just remember, we're with you if we can work together.
Nope, we appreciate you, and we're not trying to tax you out of your house. Not at all. We just want the water facility to be the best it can be, but within budget.
And thank you for your service, sir.
Okay, excuse me. My name is Peter Drudkin. I'm on Willow Road. I've been paying taxes here for just shy of 20 years. And I really want to throw a wrench in the works. I'm going to claim a lack of planning, lack of engineering, lack of forethought. And there's 2 buzz terms that I want to touch on that were mentioned earlier. We're talking about the future, and the whole reason we're here is because of demand. That's the reason that I find most logical. During this whole period of relining the pipes and so on, and I did a lot of reading for the last couple of weeks on District 2, there were different concerns. You can't open the road if the road is less than 5 years old. And if indeed we do open the road, do we put down new pipe, do we reline it? I want a little forethought going into the future. We're talking about 50 new homes over here, another 50 over here, and so on. I want to know who's comfortable with the idea that when you flush your toilet, I flush my toilet with the most pristine drinking water, period. How about we start thinking about maybe 2 different lines if we're going to put down new piping for new facilities, new homes. You want a new treatment plant so that when I flush my toilet, I've got better water going into my, I think just a little more forethought, a little better planning, a little better engineering. I just offer that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bart Caterino. I live up in Water District 2, Seminary Hill Road. I'm most concerned with the RFP that goes out. I took a look through the previous reports. I was a little unimpressed because there were no actual numeric value engineering comparisons in that original report. I've never seen a grid in an engineering report that's just positive and negatives. It's always hard numbers, hard construction costs, materials costs, engineering costs, and so forth. And I believe from what I hear tonight that that's what Rich intends to get out of this next RFP and the next reports that come in. I want to ask, why does this RFP need to be limited to the methods that were proposed in this report?
I think they're pretty much covering the whole gauntlet, but it may not cover all the gauntlet, but that's what we
Right.
had originally. We're able now to compare apples to apples. If you throw a pear in there, I can't say what they had in the past.
Sure,
So
but
they
why,
looked at
why
that.
do we need to compare it to what was in the past?
Because
you know,
we're building off of that particular report to provide the response to the answers that people wanted, which was nobody did a numbers comparison.
Mhm.
That's what this is going to do. So that is why. That is the answer why.
Okay.
So we can only look at 2. We can look at 3.
Is there another process that you're thinking of?
Not off the top of my head,
Oh.
but the technology is always evolving. And so, maybe there was a process
It seems like refurbishing is a good idea.
I
but
think
the-
refurbishing
But
is
the
a-
property is so small, I
Right.
don't know that they can do that.
I
That's
think
why-
refurbishing is a great idea. Rehab what we have, maybe add another train of treatment, add a process,
Yeah, I looking at the report, I didn't think there was enough room for another train. That's why I
Sure,
think they.
but
but
expand,
let's see.
expand the current building, add a
Yeah.
train, there's tons of options. I fully appreciate that rehab is being explored and that we're looking to get cost comparisons. I just want to, my biggest concern is that the RFP is not limiting in any way.
No, it's based on the original facility plan, which assessed those particular treatment technologies for the water quality of Lake Lenida, at least when you read the
Sure.
report. That's why they looked at those, right? I'm sure there's other treatment technologies, but these are the ones that were assessed for the water quality we had going in there.
Right. I just wonder if another firm might assess the water quality differently and maybe apply a treatment process that that wasn't looked at in the original report. So
How old is that water facility report?
this is from
2020 it was finalized. So it's 4 years old.
Yeah.
Data was collected the year prior. The water quality hasn't changed much. It's been virtually the same. Again, what's changed is what's going to be the demand, what's going to be what we're looking for going in the future. Glenida is pretty stable when it comes to that particular water quality.
Sure.
So again, you want to spend lots of money, we can put another couple $100,000 in there, do more water quality studies. I don't think that's the right way to go. I think we build on what we have, and we build on the report that we have, and that's the quickest, most efficient way to get the answer that everyone was asking the question.
Can you leave a caveat if there is a new technology that they,
I'd have, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure
an
we can add that
alternative.
in.
maybe there is something, so I
Just-
know that with the sewer plant, there was a pilot that we wanted to do, so there may be something.
Yeah, I think it should just be open to any technology that a design firm can provide us an evaluation of.
Yes, that complies with the 10 state
And
standards, yes.
that's really the way to get the best, to find what your best value is from an engineering standpoint.
Oh, the other thing is it has to comply also with,
10 state standards.
no, but also DEC, because we did something for the PFOAs, and it was ion
Exchange.
exchange to take the PFOAs out of the water, and that water had to be dumped in the test because we weren't allowed to let anybody drink it, because the state said no. So that's another
Right, there's always a
thing
waste,
that
there could be a waste disposal issue.
we may not be able to use that technology, because if the Health Department of New York State says they don't believe in that,
Right, yeah, I would hope any firm that signs on to this is gonna be able to, comply with state standards. That's their first objective.
Yes.
For sure. So that was my main concern.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Boy, it's been a long one. Just one thing in my mind that hasn't come up here. First, I want to thank everybody here and everybody here for bringing it to their attention. You heard us. We can't afford what you had. We're going to look into other options. We're going in the right direction. My question is, maybe it's for the town engineer. We have we have 150 Gateway condominium project and a 68 also condominium, I think, on the property at the
Centennial.
golf course.
Yeah.
When that will, and that's supposedly, according to the comments at the planning board, within the next 5 years. When all of these new units are on board, is that going to reduce our costs because we have more people paying this bill? I mean, I'm just asking that question. Right.
Yeah.
And I guess on the same token,
do condominiums pay equally? We have condominiums, for example, up at Pulte, that are twice the size of my house, but they're condominiums. Are they paying the same proportionate tax as a single-family home?
Again, I believe that everything's ad valorem is based on what your tax assessable value is, so they're paying that based on that. You know, your bigger concern on the grand scheme of things is not that your taxes will go down, is that at one point in time, when we only have a plant that can produce 1 million gallons worth of water, and you're asking for 2 million gallons worth of water, what do we do? So 50 homes here, 100 homes there, 34 units there, another 300 there. It all adds up. So, you know, so just, you worry about you're going to run out of water after a while. Well, you can only produce so much, so.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Frank.
you for coming.
My name is Rosemary Gebhardt. I live in Water District 2. I just want to thank Mr. Franzetti for what he just said, because as much as we're concerned about taxes, I think Water District 2 has to be very aware and safeguard the amount of water. And so whoever decides, yes, we're going to build another development, you have to be able to safeguard the amount of water in Water District 2, or then everything we're doing is futile. So I do appreciate looking at alternate plans. I also appreciate the board looking ahead and planning that we don't overload Water District 2.
Yeah, and each time there's a,
Thank you.
Rosemary, each time there's a proposal before the planning board, it goes to the engineering department and the building department for their assessment, and that's one of the assessments that they make in terms of water consumption and that kind of stuff that goes into the determining factor.
And I appreciate that, because Michael and I is not going to keep adding it.
Yeah, that's why it goes to those departments for their input. Anybody else? Anyone else? Okay.
I'm in Water District 2. My name is Gloria Maloney. I have a question about the bidding, the rules for the bidding, involving everything. Is there a limit that we can say from now on, or a new law or rule, that you can't make a decision on something until you have at least 3 bids on this, or 4 bids, instead of just accepting 1 bid? Because some of these employees in our town are extremely busy, and from past, they're going to take the first bid because job's done. So their job is done.
Well, that's a general
before bid.
municipal law. so-
Yeah.
No, we
But
have to follow general municipal law
You
with
necessarily
regard to.
don't have to accept the bid.
You're entitled to reject.
Yeah, you
any
can
bid
reject
or
any
set of
bid you
bids.
want.
If
So
you're
what
going to
I'm
award.
saying is, can they say, okay, I can't take this painting bid until I get 3 bidders, and then the
You
best bidder
can't do that.
wins?
No, you can't do that.
You can't.
Once we send them out to 5, 10, 20, just because they don't respond back.
When you reject a bid, you don't have to,
I'm not saying to reject it. I'm
No, I
saying
understand. I heard
before
what
you say okay to a bid, can we get 3 bidders?
you can't do
No.
that.
Going until you
Can't do
No,
that. General municipal
because
law.
how it works is the bids go out, and then they all have to come back at a certain day. They're opened up at a certain day.
They're
And
sealed.
it doesn't matter, they're sealed. So if you get 1 bid or 20 bids, whatever those bids come in, say we come in with the painting, 1 bid, we can say, you know what, we're gonna reject this, and then we could put it back out and hope that we're gonna get more bids. That usually doesn't work, unfortunately, but you can do that. If we get 20 bids, then we usually try to go with the lowest responsible bidder. But we can't open up a bid and have a responsible bidder there and say, nope, you know what, we need 2 more bids, because everything is sealed. So it's all law, so.
It's all governed by state law.
Yeah,
All right.
but a good thought, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Rich, I have a
One
question.
last.
What is the safe yield for Lakeland Ida?
We have a report on that. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Because that will kind of determine our expansion in the future, correct?
So the safe yield, the original facility plan identified that safe yield and used that number. So the number was pretty high that was originally in that report. So I'd have to double, I don't know that answer, I apologize.
Yeah,
So,
and years ago, what we did is we took any lots that are in that water district, and we said, what is the maximum that could be built on that lot? because we wanted to make sure that there's enough water before out-of-district people wanted to come in. We want to take care of the Carmel water, in this case, the Carmel Water 2 district.
Determines how fast it
So,
recharges, correct?
but we want to make sure that there's enough water with that, but I think you do have that.
We have a safe yield analysis, and we did it for Lake Mahopac to supplement Lake Lenida in case it wasn't sufficient, and it was also to get off of the New York City dime of using New York City DEP water, right? We pay, you all know, you pay handsomely for New York City DEP water. We were trying to maybe look at the option of going to Lake Mahopac, but that just wasn't a viable option.
Go ahead, your one more comment, and then we're
Yeah,
going to go to executive.
I just wanted to ask a question related to Rosemary, was it?
Yeah.
No. Gloria, I wanted to ask something related to Gloria's question. When you are putting out bids, do you generally have an engineer's estimate or an estimate that is associated with that bid so that if something comes in too high, then you can reject it on that basis?
No.
Sometimes, yeah.
You can't do that.
If an initial estimate that determines whether or not you have to go out to bid.
Yes.
It's going to exceed the threshold. Sometimes there are estimates and sometimes there aren't, depending on the project.
And you'll see, like, we'll get bids in, no lie, like $11,000 to $211,000.
Sure.
It's insane, like, it's crazy. It's almost like people put out there and, hey, if you guys want to pay me that, I'm going to take it. But, yeah, but unfortunately, there's laws.
You don't have any percentage threshold over an estimate that you
No.
use to reject bids that might be too high. Okay.
No.
Thank you. So I can get a motion to go to executive session to do, Charlie, yes, please. Well, you are Water 2, so.
Well, I had a minute, and I'm sorry. Charlie Melchner, Mahopac, New York. I don't want to talk about Water District 2. I did want to talk about the zoning laws for downtown. And I was going to go through a few things, but first, thank you, everybody, for being here. It's great to see our town working together to try to go ahead and get this stuff done, which is really nice. When I looked through the zoning on the downtown, I was concentrating a lot on the lake stuff because that's where I had a little bit of knowledge on it. And this is a huge document for just about anybody to review and go through. And people don't know what's happening with it. And there is one thing particularly before next week that I would ask you guys to consider. You have a date in there where lakefronts, that docks that are not approved on private parcels on the lake, you're saying if they're not legal or they're not in there before whatever the date was, September. I think you're not giving enough notice to the people of the town, the lakefront owners, the community, to go ahead and, if they have a chance, one, check if they are legal, because a lot of people don't know, to make sure they can be legal. Maybe they have a shot to do it before they have to go in front of other boards and other things to do in the future. So maybe you could put that off for just that date alone, not the estimate, but maybe put that date off to January of 2026 to give everybody enough time to find out if they need to hire architects, if they need to change anything or do anything, because this is going to drastically change the values and the things on the properties around the lake.
Charlie, wouldn't they I'm sorry to interrupt you, wouldn't they have to correct those, wouldn't they have to go before those
I don't know.
boards anyway?
But if they don't have, let's say they have a dock that
Right.
fits all the parameters
Right.
of what they currently need to
Right.
do.
Right.
If they didn't go get a permit or a license for that because they just didn't know, what's happening is that if they don't have it in there legally,
Right.
if this is put in place,
Right.
then they would have to go and they'd have to go and reapply
They'd
to
have
try
to
to get
legalize
it.
it.
Right.
To legalize
So
it.
right now, they could just go ahead and go in and go to the building department. I
But
spoke
they
to the
would
building.
still have to go legalize it.
Right, but they would have a chance to do it before there could be any other changes, because there are things like the width of the dock, the distance of the dock, certain feet from the sides of your property line. Those things that are in there currently do not apply to docks that are already in place around the lake. So what I'm saying is just because someone doesn't know they own a piece of lakefront property that has, let's say, a 10-foot piece of dock on it, that goes out 12 feet on it, that goes to 4 foot long, and the rule says it can only be 6 foot wide, they're going to be in violation of that upcoming rule that's going to be in place.
So you're asking that it be
Wait, but-
grandfathered longer?
I'm only saying not grandfathered longer. Give the people a year to go ahead and get themselves to see if they have to be ready for that.
But Charlie, but they can go, when this is adopted.
Right.
If they're not legal, then they can go to the planning board to get a variance or whatever they may be.
Sure.
I mean, me personally, I can't do another year, wait a whole nother
The
year.
only reason why, well, it's only the
This has
date.
been going on.
Suzie, it's only the date, though, I'm sorry.
I know, but if it's gonna be coming on next week, the
Yeah.
18th, and it's gonna be voted on,
But I'm only saying the date that you're putting in to grandfather stuff in, because I'm saying I don't believe the people have enough time. Listen, this isn't something that's weighing on me. This is for the community and the people around the lake. You're going to have numerous people that have docks that would have been grandfathered in just by coming to get a piece of paper from either the town hall or Office of General
Right, but the
Services.
legal ones are grandfathered in.
Say that again?
Yeah, I hear what you say. We'll talk it about the board, but the
That's all- that was it.
legal ones are grandfathered in.
Right, and the ones that
It's
may,
the ones that are not legal, just like if you had a shed, that's not legal,
I'm
you
not,
have to.
I'm not
you have
saying
to
that
be-
because the laws are gonna change.
You want them to have enough time to legalize
But
the illegal docks that are already existing,
That's
correct?
all I'm saying.
Is that what it is?
Their docks may not meet.
Understood.
the
There's
new
people that
criteria.
didn't know that they needed to be a certain
Yeah,
way,
the
and you just want to
criteria
give them
is
enough
gonna
time.
change
Yeah,
for
understood.
the new docks.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
that's
some-
it.
I think
And
that's
that's
some-
all I was talking about. I think that an opportunity for people to go ahead and to have that chance to work
Yeah, I
with
think that's something we could,
more
uh,
time to be able to do it. I don't think it changes anything. That's it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for looking
Thanks,
into
Charlie.
that.
I appreciate it. All right, I'm
Thanks,
sorry.
Charlie.
So motion to go to executive session for attorney-client.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
I got something to say
All
now.
right, thank you, good night.